I'm going to show you how to build a semantic FAQ assistant that actually understands what you mean, not just the exact words you type. And for this to work, we will be using AWS's Bedrock's Titan embeddings to turn your questions into numeric vectors and then store those vectors in TiDB cloud so we can do a super fast similarity search. My goal is that by the end of this tutorial, you'll have a simple command line tool, a tiny browser interface with FastAPI and React, and even a neat progress bar so you know exactly when your server is ready to go. Now, as a side note, in the description, I will have a link to the blog, which will have all the commands and all the code that I'm sharing with you on my screen. I will also link my GitHub for you to clone and replicate exactly, so you can just go ahead and get this working for yourself as well. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and just clone my repo that I made it, and then we're going to go ahead and hit enter. So what this does is it pretty much grabs a project, sets up a virtual environment so our dependencies stay isolated, and installs everything we need, right? All right, so it looks like everything's good to go, and we're already in the Semantic Q&A directory. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and open up Visual Studio Code. So what we're gonna do right off the bat, right? Once we clone my repo, we're gonna go ahead and create our .env file. So literally it's just this, right? And then it's creating a file, .env. Paste that, and what you're going to do here is place your AWS access key and your AWS secret key here, and then to get your user and password from TiDB, you'll go to TiDB cloud to go ahead and get your credentials there as well, and you're just going to replace your user and password here. By the way, if you have never tried to retrieve your AWS key from AWS or your TiDB user and password, in the link in the description below, I will have a blog and videos that will teach you exactly how to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put my credentials in here, and then we'll go ahead and continue with the video. Now that that's done, let's open app.py, and I'll keep this brief, but I just want to explain just enough so you know what each function actually does. And so first of all, we're going to go over our Bedrock embed function. So pretty much whenever you pass it a string, it calls AWS Bedrock behind the scenes to get a 1024 dimensional Titan embedding. And I think what's pretty cool on top of that is that you don't need to worry about the HTTP details. Just know that the Bedrock embed, and then, you know, whatever text goes into here, returns a list of floats representing that text. So now next up is our ingest facts function. So what this does is this actually reads your FAQ data from our facts.json file. This has about 100 questions and answers for our Q&A app. And again, this one reads your FAQ data from our JSON file, and then it calls a Bedrock embed on each question, like each question, and then it turns it into a vector, and then uses the TiDB vector client to create a facts table and insert all those embeddings plus the answers as metadata. In other words, our ingest facts function loads everything into TiDB as soon as you actually run the script, which is pretty cool. Then what we have next is our query underscore FAQ. So pretty much what happens here is when you give it a user question, it calls Bedrock embed again, right? But why does it call Bedrock again? It does it to embed that question, then ask TiDB for a single most similar vector in the FAQs table. Then TiDB returns that matching FAQ question and answer, which query FAQ simply hands back to us. And then last but not least, main ties everything together. So first, it calls ingest facts once on startup, then it loops waiting for you to type something. And if you type exit or quit, it stops. Otherwise, it simply calls query FAQ. And if it finds a match, it prints out closest Q and answer. And if nothing close enough, it prints no semantic match found. So let's go ahead and let's actually try this in our terminal. Simply just type python app.py. And let's see what happens. All right, now it's just making sure that we do have the correct credentials to AWS. And please note again, this will actually take around a minute, 50 seconds to 60 seconds to actually run, because it literally has to go through around 100 questions on here. So it should be done pretty soon. Okay, amazing. So now it's working. Now, just by the way, if you want, you can actually lessen this to, like, let's say 10 questions or 4 questions. Let's say 10, and it will pretty much load almost immediately. Let's say 5 within like 5 seconds or so, because I want to try to get the full Semantic Q&A app experience, I take the time to actually wait and let it run through these 100 questions. So let's go back to our terminal, and now we have our own Q&A semantic app just within a terminal, which is cool. And I added some emojis, so I hope that looks cool to you. It looks cool to me. Now let's go ahead and let's see if this actually works. Let's type something like, what is your return policy? Closest stored question. It returns closest stored question. What is your return policy? You can return items within 30 days of delivery for a full refund. Okay, let me ask about something else. Can I use multiple gift cards when shopping? All right, let's hit enter. And that's pretty quick how fast it finds the answer, right? Can I use multiple gift cards when shopping? Closest stored question. Can I pay with multiple gift cards? Ooh, you can apply up to 3 gift cards per order in the payment step. Okay, that's nice. Just another question. Do you ship to the Philippines? I'm in the USA, but I'm Filipino and I'm proud. Let's see what it says here. Closest stored question. Do you ship internationally? All right, that works. See, I didn't ask, do you ship internationally, right? I literally just asked, do you ship to the Philippines? And it understood what I was trying to ask them. It understood the question, the intention behind the question, which is pretty cool. And the answer, yes, we currently ship to over 35 countries worldwide. So I think that's cool. It's pretty amazing how it's able to find the closest answer to your question, understanding the intention behind the question, but why it's able to do this because it's using Titan embeddings match on meeting, right? Now, this is cool, but let's also see how this can work in our browser. So we actually have a FastAPI server in server.py, and we also have a tiny React frontend in our index HTML file. And this is pretty simple. It's a simple React file. It's just a basic HTML page that pulls React from a CDN. And then on the Python side, server.py actually has a lifespan function right here that calls ingest facts once at startup. So our TiDB table is actually ready right away. This is pretty cool. Let's go ahead and let's get this running. I just want to show you how this works. So we're going to get out of here. Please note, we do have 100 questions on here. I'm just going to show you how fast it is when we actually lessen the amount of data in here. So let's lessen it down to 10 questions. All right. And let's go ahead and actually run this. Oh, by the way, instead of running uvicorn server app manually, I actually like to use a small script that I made called run with bar.py. And I'm going to explain this as it loads in just a second. So let's go ahead and run this Python run this, no pun intended, but let's go ahead and see what happens. Okay, so now, as you can see now this time around, there's actually a loading bar, pretty cool colors, and clock that counts how long it's taking for this to actually load. And because we took out 90 questions, it loaded within 8 seconds. So let's actually add these questions back and let's see what happens this time around. Get out of here, do it again. All right, so now it's going to take around 50 seconds to do it this time. Now, what's happening behind the scenes is that run with bar.py is actually spawning uvicorn as like a sub process, and it shows a progress bar until it responds with the 200 status, meaning our UI website is ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and wait for that to load. It should load almost any second now. Okay, perfect. So it took around 47 seconds. I said it would take around 50, 60 seconds. I lied. I'm sorry. It actually did in almost 48 seconds. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's go to our localhost 8000. Let's open this up. Amazing. All right, there you go. This is our own personal UI FAQ assistant. Let's get into this. Let's ask a question. Pretty much exactly what we did in our terminal here. But this time, let's ask something totally random. Do I have to pay taxes? I don't even know if this is one of the question and answers in our JSON file, but I'm just gonna ask it anyway. Oh, it is there. So the closest question to this is, do you charge sales tax? Answer: sales tax is calculated at checkout based on your shipping address. I wonder if there's an answer to this. How fast do you ship items? Hit enter. How long does shipping take? So how fast do you ship items? And the closest question is, how long does shipping take? That's amazing. Okay, that's amazing. Answer: standard shipping takes 3 to 5 business days once your order ships. There you go. So just like that, we have our very own full semantic FAQ assistant using AWS Bedrock and TiDB Cloud. So feel free to like maybe even swap in your own data, or actually I think it should be in our app py file. Let me just open this, but k = 1. You can even change this to k equals 3. So what's interesting about changing the value to 3 is if maybe you want multiple suggestions. Maybe you don't want just one suggestion for your question. Anyway, if this was helpful, please let me know in the comment section below. I hope y'all liked this video, and I'm very excited to see what I build for y'all in the next one. Anyway, thank you for watching.